Okay, so it's 10 past, and I think that everyone else can roll in as time goes on. So, good evening, everyone. I'd just like to thank everyone who's joining us now on this Friday evening for availing themselves and availing their time. So, my name is Sashin, and I'll be hosting the session today. I'd also like to thank all our speakers who've made their way through and for opening up time for them, well, opening up their schedules to present to us. Samantha, Isha, Sku, and I think Khalid will be rolling in shortly. So just a little bit of background behind what we're doing. So the Habitable Planet Workshop is run by the Access Program, which is the Applied Center for Climate and Earth System Science. It's a consortium of several agencies, research councils, and research groups, which aims to effect change in the education space around Earth system science by providing various learning and skill development opportunities to use, particularly in the post-secondary school phase of their lives, you could say, by providing various workshops and training programs to engage in. So Access wanted to commemorate National Science Week for 2021 and decided to host a series of webinars to share not only the wonders and successes of science, but also the variety of the variations in science and the opportunities available in science. So before we begin, I just like a couple of house rules to be like laid down. Anyone else who may be joining, can you please ensure that your mic is muted? Ensure that there is like a red line which passes through your mic, which is at the bottom left corner of your screen. And I think for the sake of preserving bandwidth, people who may join don't necessarily have to have their videos on if they're not presenting. You're welcome to, but if you're not presenting, it's okay if you don't. If there are any questions that anyone has for any of the speakers or any thoughts in general, which they'd like to raise, you can leave those in the chat section. So without further ado, I think we'll begin our session with our first speaker, who is Sam, and she has a pre-recorded lecture or presentation which I'll play for everyone, and then we can ask her questions afterwards. Okay. Recorded lecture or presentation which I'll just play for everyone, and then we can ask her questions afterwards. Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Chetty. I'm a master's graduate in environmental science, and today I'm going to be giving a talk on breaking into the
lecture
environmental sector.
or presentation which
You may be
I'll
wondering
play for everyone, and then we can ask her
The
questions afterwards.
reason being is that there may be a lot of people who have similarities with me. My name is Samantha in terms of you may be looking for graduate in environmental science, you may be an early and today I'm going to be giving a talk, or you may be a
lecture
or
presentation which I'll
play
for everyone, and then we can ask her
questions
questions afterwards.
The reason being is that there may be a lot of people how to break into the environmental sector. My name is Samantha in terms of you may be looking for graduate in environmental science, you may be an early environmental science,
recorded lecture or
have
presentation which I'll
There's a
play for
problem.
everyone, and then we can ask her questions afterwards. Sorry?
There's a problem. I'm hearing the presentation playing over like 4 times. It's on mute.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah,
hold
maybe
on.
close everything and start it again.
Okay, sure. Mm, there's an echo somewhere. Okay, thank you, JD. Audio overlay problem. Let me try this again. Sorry, everyone. Let's see.
Hi everyone, my name is Samantha Chetty. I'm a master's graduate in environmental science, and today I'm going to be giving a talk on breaking into the environmental sector. You may be wondering why I chose such a topic. The reason being is that there may be a lot of people who have similarities with me. in terms of you may be looking for employment, you may be an early career person, or you may be a graduate and you have no idea where you're going to get a job. So this is why I'm going to give you guidance into how to break into the environmental sector. I have a BSc Environmental Science Life Science stream from UKZ in Pietermaritzburg. This degree exposed me to a wide range of fields such as ecology, evolution, soil science, statistics, chemistry, and geography. So basically, I'm a generalist because I know a little bit of everything. For my BSc Honours in Environmental Science, I went into the Geography department, and this allowed me to start learning about the fields that really interested me, which was environmental management, biogeography, GIS, and remote sensing. So for my honours research, I chose to do lab work, where I analysed foraminifera. These are tiny microscopic organisms, and they actually look like pretty snails, with these very intricate designs. What we did is we took soil cores from a mangrove environment in the intertidal zone. The intertidal zone is basically where the shoreline is. We ran a transect perpendicular to the shoreline and we sampled at intervals. I identified the different species of forams which are actually related to different intertidal zones. What that means is that I may find a certain species further away from the shoreline. I may find another species at the shoreline and a different species in the water, roots of the mangroves to the mangrove trees. You can see these two very strong guys taking the soil core. But don't be fooled, we were also very strong as
Sachin, I
women. I
think
just
there's a
didn't show
problem
you
with the
evidence.
presentation again.
Here is a soil core that we extracted from the ground. If you look on the
Is it
left-hand
okay?
side,
Absolutely fine for me.
Okay, is it?
It's not on the right slide. So what I'm saying is not at the right place. Like I'm talking forward, but it's stuck on the previous slide.
Ah, okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
Um, I'm not entirely sure what to do in that regard. Because I'm just playing it straight off as you sent it to me. So is it going too far ahead?
It's just basically the timing is all wrong with the
Ultimately,
slides
yeah.
and the voice. But I did play it previously, it was fine.
Mm, mm, I'm not entirely sure what to do. Yeah, apologies, everyone.
If I may suggest, maybe Aisha could go first and then you can try playing it afterwards.
Okay, that's also a good idea. Yeah. I'll try and figure it out in the meantime. Okay, Aisha, if that's okay with you, if you don't mind, or even Skambuzo, if you don't mind. Either. Let's see. Is he here? No, he's not here anymore. Aisha, would you mind? Are you okay beginning your presentation now instead, while we just try to amend whatever happened with Sam's video? Hello, can everyone hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't really help you with what you're asking.
Yeah, I realize. Let me see then.
Is
Let me see
Aisha around?
if she's online, but I don't think she's.
Maybe WhatsApp her. She probably just popped out to the toilet or something.
Mm. Yeah, I don't have a number, unfortunately.
Maybe let me try playing it on my phone, but I hope you guys don't see anything that you shouldn't be seeing, but you can try. Should I try playing it?
Yeah, yes, please, if you're able to, of course, by all means.
Okay, let me just try quickly.
I can't hear the audio. Sam, it seems like there still is no audio coming through.
Did you not
I
hear
think
anything?
no, nothing. I think when sharing your screen, maybe it does give you an option to enable audio as well.
I didn't see anything. Um,
No, the
okay.
settings, hey, the audio settings are on your profile setting. But if you change them from there.
Mm,
Okay, maybe try and have a look on your profile to permit audio. I'm not sure if that would help.
mm. Maybe let Aisha go for the meantime while we try to figure this out.
Yes. Aisha, would you mind? I'm really sorry for putting you on the spot like this.
Okay, sure. I can go.
Okay, so thank you very much. I really apologize for that.
Okay, hello everyone. So my name is Aisha, and I will be presenting on the effects of climate change on the marine ecosystem. and particularly focusing on the research that I've done in the Comore Islands. Okay, so firstly, the ocean is awesome and it does so much for us. The ocean and its extended habitats, things like mangroves, as well as all the associated food webs, can sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere at rates up to 4 times greater than terrestrial forests. So basically, the ocean has saved us from the worst impacts of climate change by absorbing 90% of the heat and 25% of the carbon dioxide. So unfortunately, it does this at a cost that significantly harms the marine ecosystem. So let's take a further look at how climate change affects the ocean. So first we have temperature. An increase in temperature will affect the reproduction and of marine organisms that depend on temperature to reproduce. So this can in turn affect the replenishment of populations and connectivity patterns. Corals are also have a codependent relationship with single-celled algae and live within their tissues. So an increase in temperature forces the polyps to reject this algae, and that results in a change of the color where it becomes bleached, as you can see in the picture above. In addition, more heat in the ocean has the potential to develop more tropical cyclones, resulting in major damage to both marine environment as well as humans. Okay, so here we have the map of the ocean currents. You can see the red ones are the warm currents and the blue are the cold. Now, ocean currents are very important for all these reasons stated below. So transport of plankton, distribution of eggs and larvae, bringing food and oxygen. But if the ocean warms up, these patterns and currents will be affected. So here we have ocean stratification and salinity. So as the glaciers melt, the water in the ocean, firstly, it rises, and secondly, it becomes less saline because the glaciers are fresh water. And this would affect things like the density of the water and the salinity and the depth ranges because, okay, so as you can see in this picture, the organisms they usually adapt to a certain depth and they are found at these depths. So if things change, they tend to move either up or down and they get displaced and yeah, so they might not be able to survive and it would affect the whole ecosystem. Then we have ocean acidification. Now this is responsible for the decrease in carbonate ions, which is mainly used in things like creating shells for marine organisms and for coral skeletons as well. So without carbonate ions or a decrease in carbonate ions, we would see a major decrease in marine life. So focusing in on the Comore Islands. So this is a map of where they are found, which is just off the coast of Mozambique and between Madagascar. So it's located in the Western Indian Ocean, and this is where my research takes place. This is the research vessel that we used. The name is Angripaquena. And this is the equipment. So here we have an ROV, which is yellow, and that is, it takes video footage of the reef. And on the right, we have brubs. These are baited, so we put food in them and that attracts fish. So the ROV is to sample the benthic, so the sessile life in the sponges and coral, while the brubs used to look at all the fish, what types of fish is in the area, how many, etc. Okay, and this is the footage that we get from it. So on the left, these two pictures are corals, and that's what we got from the ROVs. And then on the right, we have the brubs. So you can see the bait is in here, and then everything gets attracted to that. Okay, so we move on to the significance of hard corals and why they are important. So firstly, hard corals are reef builders, and they are mainly found in the shallow reefs. They're responsible for creating habitats for marine organisms. Everything gets attracted to them. They are spawning grounds, and they support juvenile life before they go out into the open ocean. And they are a source of nitrogen. They provide essential nutrients for marine food chains. They protect our coastlines from damage through waves and tropical storms. So, in essence, hard corals are extremely vital for our reefs. And hard corals tend to be dominant in the shallower reefs, as I said. However, in the Comores, we noticed that there were hard corals that were found quite deep. Now, this means that evidence of hard corals deep in our oceans means that they are adjusting to climate change. They are going deeper where they were normally found in shallow reefs. They are adjusting to that temperature, and they are surviving and thriving. But the problem comes in is what happens to us. So this means that nature may be finding a way to survive by moving deeper. But if they move deeper, how would we access them without specialized equipment? So the ecosystem functioning and services upon which people and societies depend will be heavily impacted, such as recreational scuba diving, for example. Your open water license gets you to 20 meters, while advanced is 40. And if these corals are moving deeper than 40 meters, what would we see? This picture on the left shows a completely sandy area. And is that what we would be seeing? Dead fish, dead reefs, or no fish at all and complete sand? Or would we want to see what's on the right? Beautiful, healthy coral reef habitats. And what about your subsistence fishes who want to feed their families? And how deep where would those fish be living, because they live in the coral reefs, right? So if we didn't have our reefs, we would have no fish, like the picture at the top here, where it's a completely dead coral reef. So nature can possibly adjust to the effects of climate change, but what would we do? Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a good couple of minutes. The floor is open for questions if anyone has any. Any takers, anyone? Okay, I've got a question. Aisha, I'm actually a marine geologist, completing my master's at the moment. So a lot of the stuff which you're showing was actually very fascinating to me from a geological perspective. I was just wondering, have you gone diving in the waters
I
in the
have,
Comoro
yeah.
Islands? And what was it like in terms of, well, I would assume much of the currents around the area or around the island wouldn't necessarily be the most intense, I would think, because I can imagine that disrupting the coral, disrupting much of the reef. What was that like?
Okay, so just to correct, I didn't go diving in the Comores, but I do know the currents, and it was very flat. So yeah, there was very flat currents, no waves, completely calm, that kind of thing. Except when we went deep. So when we tried to go like over 100 meters deep, then the currents were a bit more difficult to handle.
Would you compare it? No, that's a different question, wasn't it? Dr. Carl, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a little bit of a tangent, but something I think might be of interest to people. Marine science as a whole is, I'm afraid, really quite infamous for being quite a hostile environment to women, and particularly women of colour, with a lot of sailors involved who are particularly misogynistic and difficult to deal with. And I just wondered if you'd had much of that experience, and how you've managed to deal with it.
Not at all, actually. So I do agree with you that it is kind of tends to be male dominated. However, with the movements that we have, especially in South Africa, we are tending towards more females in the marine environment. And for example, at university, we had pretty much mainly females, I think only 2 males. And even in the working environment, they tend to hire more females than males. And the captain of our research vessel is a female as well.
It's fantastic to see that shift, in like the degree of dominance. I have another question. Would you say, your research has helped inform a lot of the work you do at present, at Wild Oceans? I just, through like the bio that you sent me, it just made me think about that, how the experience, the knowledge, and that sort of stuff would have helped influence that, and the work you may be
Yes,
doing.
yes, absolutely. So it's always important to grow and to learn new things. And I feel that that has helped me throughout, especially with the work that I do now. So all this research would contribute to something greater, and we could move forward with it. We could expand on it. We could go to a different island and compare, as well as like everything I learned in university, or just in terms of diving and in terms of the knowledge that we gained, with the papers that you read. It all kind of added to the knowledge that I have and the experiences that helped me to get this research done.
Oh, fantastic. I actually have another question, but I'm going to ask, does anyone else have any questions that they may like to ask beforehand? Anyone? Okay, so I have one more. I understand, a lot of the work is quite scientifically heavy, I suppose. Is there much community engagement that also comes of it, particularly with maybe communities that, say, subsist off of these, off the fish which thrive in those coral communities?
Absolutely. So I could go into a whole other presentation about the community side of things. But so in the Comores, it's actually a very poor country with very little ocean literacy. So we, as a team, we did not just go there and take their information and sample their area and not give anything back, which is one of the major historic problems in marine science. So what we did was lots of community engagement. We took university students under our wing, and we supervised them, as well as helped them out with sampling, provided equipment to them for long-term research, gave them the knowledge base that they could use to continue this research by themselves. And we worked with NGOs as well in the area, who would then pass on this knowledge to the next generation, or fight for what they are trying to move, which is MPAs, marine protected areas in the Comores. We worked with the national parks as well. So there was lots of community engagement involved. We even went to the schools, so at a younger level, like primary schools, and we incorporated marine science games into their curriculum, kind of. So not officially, but we had a hand in developing them. We gave them the tools that they could use to continue this teaching style as well.
Fantastic. Because just like it's just my own interest that I'm really asking a lot of this stuff. What did last question, a very last question. Did you ever see that there was any sort of maybe indigenous knowledge systems that were used? Like, because communities would stay around, they may tend to have their own local knowledge of uh the system, if I could, if for lack of a better word, if I could say that. Maybe their own, I suppose, terms they use to refer to different species or how they understand behaviors of different fish, etc., or coral.
So I'm sure that they definitely do have some cultural significance around what they think of the ocean and their separate knowledge of it, etc., and how they would do fishing, how they would go about fishing, etc. But a lot of it, because it's a poverty-stricken area, they are unaware of the effects that they have on their ecosystems and their communities. Yeah, so we also did give them like an ID guide for to be able to ID the fish and to ID the coral, etc. So we did have to educate a lot, but I'm sure they do have their own ideas as well.
Okay. Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much, Aisha.
My pleasure.
So
Thank you for having me.
thank you. So looking at the schedule, we are quite behind and owing to technical difficulties. Um, we were considering taking possibly an early break and maybe reconvening again at 7:15 to try and see how we can continue. Uh, if
I'm
everyone is
happy
okay with
with
that,
that.
if everyone's okay with that, then maybe we can reconvene at 7:15 again.
That's totally fine.
All right. Okay, everyone. We'll see you just now.